Welcome, my dear friends. It's good to see you. I'm Stephen Clements, a writer, a gamer, and a enjoyer of big brain activities in general. On this channel, I perform dramatic readings of my stories, I provide role-playing game reviews, and I interview interesting people. On this episode, we're going to go into a short story from the short story collection Memphis Dirty, Tales from the Dirty South, that I had the pleasure of editing and publishing a few years ago. And one of the writers that I got to work with goes by the name JT Davenport. For those in the Memphis area, they may know him by the nickname of Spectre, and an adorable guy. Really enjoyed the story he's got, and I don't know what to give you by way of preamble or to prepare you for this because it's really weird. But I hope you enjoy it because I enjoyed it enough to put in the time, effort, and to make it into print and to perform it for you now. So let's get into it. Night Journey by JT Davenport. Editor's note. According to JT Davenport, the following is a true story. You be the judge. Think about them past the point of that's pure fantasy and folk tales. Most certainly could never happen. I mean, just how can you justify being dead but not dead at the same time? It defies explanation and is not scientifically possible. Well, all of that notwithstanding, just how then do you explain vampirism? We've seen in the movies and in books that all vampires are evil. Well, if that's so, then how do you explain the golden ones? I had not one, but two questions I couldn't explain. You see, I was driving home one night at about 3 a.m. I don't exactly remember which day it was, and that truly isn't important for the story. As I recall, I was on the interstate, driving my van and singing along with the music on the radio when this idiot driver lost control of his car on the rain-slick roadway and veered directly in front of me. I had no choice but to yank hard to the right on the steering wheel and hope there was no one in that far right lane. Luckily, there wasn't. Perhaps it might have been better for me if there had been someone driving in that lane, since I ended up hitting one of the underpass pylons with the right front of the van. The impact ripped the seatbelt loose and threw me through the windshield. After I flew 30 feet through the air and landed in one of those grassy areas at the cloverleaf turnoffs, I knew what tenderized hamburger meat felt like after the tenderizing had been done. I was sliced up, had broken many bones, and was bleeding profusely. I figured I wasn't going to make it to sunrise. Thankfully, I was numb and pain-free. As I lay there on the grass, I fancied I saw something large. It looked like a huge glowing bird spiraling down to the ground. Geez, I thought, why did I get this damn bird to carry me to wherever we go when we die, when I could have had a Valkyrie? I sort of fancied Brunhilde coming to sweep me up in her ironclad bosom. Then again, perhaps the bird was going to eat me right here in front of all the people driving on the interstate. After it landed next to me, I thought I was hallucinating. Then this great big golden glowing bird started talking to me. No, not out loud, but in my mind. I know, it's so much more normal, right? We have been watching you for a good while, and now I have an offer for you. If you want, you can be healed and live, or you can die, she calmly stated. I didn't know exactly what to think, but if this was a hallucination, it was a pretty damn good one. Still, she did seem to be very serious and was apparently waiting for an answer. What kind of an answer does anyone give to a question like that? I mean, just how often do you have a traffic accident that throws you through a windshield and lets you land on the grass where you can die, and then suddenly a giant golden eagle that sort of glows lands next to you and telepathically talks to you? My guess is not every day. I thought I was mad. If you want to be saved, you must choose right now. You don't have long to live, she said a bit impatiently. Okay, I'll play along with this, I thought. I do have a few questions to ask before choosing, I stated. Off in the distance, I could hear the sound of several sirens wailing their way slowly closer to me. First, why me? And second, are you evil? I asked in my most matter-of-fact manner. We don't have time for this. You are dying. Now choose, she said. Not yet. Answer my questions first. All right, if I must. First, you're recommended to us. And second, no, we are not evil. Now choose, she said flatly. Okay, then I choose to live, was all I said. In the next instant, it seemed as if the great eagle sort of melted into me. In that same moment, I could feel my broken bones mending, my blood returning to my body, and all the damage being healed. It felt like only a minute passed before I could stand up, and as I did so, the EMTs and the police showed up, and all sorts of questions got asked. They were incredulous that my clothes were so shredded and bloody, but I didn't have a scratch on me. I felt great. I told them what happened, minus the part about glowing owls. And after about 1,000,000 questions, I got to go home. The police gave me a ride to my house, and my van got towed to a repair shop. I thanked the officer and headed up the walkway to the front door. All the time I was thinking I'd had some sort of weird hallucination. I was thanking God for being fortunate enough to not have been as seriously hurt as I thought I'd been. As I played it back in my head on the walk up, it seemed that I had managed to bust through the windshield without getting cut and landed on the grass without breaking any bones. The police and the EMTs were at a complete loss on how to explain this one, and I told them I was just as perplexed. Well, all I wanted was to get a long, hot shower and curl up in bed for a long night's sleep. I remember being awakened the next morning by someone talking to me. It sounded like a female, but I'd gone to sleep by myself. That must be my imagination playing tricks on me again. I chose to ignore it and rolled over to sleep some more, but I didn't get to close my eyes this time. I said, "Good morning," she loudly stated. And there on my carpet was that huge golden eagle. I have lots of things to tell you in order to get you ready, and not a lot of time to do it in. So please, listen up. As she cleared her throat to begin her speech or talk, I interrupted. Just what in the hell are you, and why are you hounding me? Oh, God. I must be going. No, check that. I must have gone insane, because this simply cannot be happening. Oh, geez. What are the shrinks going to think about this? I'll bet they haven't heard. Shut up now and listen to what I have to tell you, or else I'll return you to the damaged thing I found on the grass last night. She impatiently interrupted my musings. Do you mean you're real, and I'm not making all this up? I asked, looking straight at her. There's nothing like staring down a giant bird of prey that's sitting on your bedroom carpet to bring you fully awake. You begin to appreciate the few options you really have. As I scanned my bedroom for an effective weapon to defend myself with, if I had to. None of the guns in my bedroom were loaded. Mental note to self, load them next time! All I had within easy reach was a very sharp Arkansas toothpick. Now listen, please. With those words, my education began. It all got started in an old Cherokee legend, and more than a few other nations have this legend as well. It's the legend of the bird tribe and the golden ones. According to the legend, the bird tribe came from the sky and helped to create humans and other things on this planet, i.e., they were extraterrestrials. I've never told you, or for that matter, anyone else about one of my very lucid dreams. I can have these dreams even when awake, so long as my eyes are closed. It's like watching a movie screen on the back of my eyelids. I'll still be alert to my surroundings and can hear clearly what is going on around me. But if my eyes are closed, I'm not seeing the back side of them. I place these dreams in a totally different category from all of the other dream types. They are so extremely vivid, it is sometimes hard to tell them from reality. Here's one of them. I remember looking out from where I was standing and seeing an Indian tree, which was bent so it would overlook a very green valley. On the other side of the Indian tree was the Mississippi River. In this valley was a Walmart, complete with asphalt parking lot. I moved to the building by the power of thought and entered it in the same way. Upon entering, I took a moment to orient myself and get my bearings. I suddenly realized there was a robbery going on, and I was about 20 feet behind two black men with shotguns who were attempting to hold up the store. I had one of my katanas with me. Suddenly, something was behind me, just to my left, and it was taller than I was by a head. Its head was also very dark, blackish even. Without even thinking, I whipped the katana out of my sheath and neatly cut the head off the creature. I then picked up the head. It was that of a black raven's head, except human-sized, and for some reason, I began drinking its blood, which was pouring out of the severed head. I drained it to the last drop. I recall having the oddest sensation. It was like I was supposed to have done that, because now Raven was inside me, a part of me in a way that you could never get by any other method. Well, the black guys must have seen or heard something because they began to turn towards me. It was like they were in slow motion, which really meant I had sped up. I was probably using the void again, that all-powerful force true masters of the arcane can know, because this is one of the things that happens when you use that element. The two black men were beginning to raise their shotguns in my direction when I raised one of my hands and two fireballs shot outwards, one after the other. They flew straight towards the two would-be robbers, hitting each of them in the chest. They flew backwards like two broken puppets and landed on the floor. They didn't move. Ever since then, I've been able to do certain things from time to time, and I'm beginning to think the dream was intended to allow Raven into my head. I now know what my two totems are. These I randomly drew from a deck of Indian medicine cards, although I already knew which ones they were going to be, and said as much to one of my friends who was there at the time. I picked Raven and Snake out of the deck, and in that order. Raven is on my female side, and Snake is on my male side. I knew that dream was prophetic. Since then, I have carried them with me on the inside. But I digress. The golden ones were made by the spirit of the world, that vibrant, life-giving force in a moment of lucidity, and they were intended to combat the monsters born out of evil entering the world. As all manner of evil sprang forth from Pandora's box, the golden ones were a sight better than just some hope at the bottom of a box. They are not evil. Yes, they do drink blood, but unlike other vampires, only from animals. They have a herd of cattle that they collect blood from, store it, and drink it when needed. They do have human and animal helpers that they share some of their power with to assist them in their tasks. There are only 5 of the golden ones. There's Zinkala, the oldest and wisest of us all. Zinkala has power likened unto a demigod, like a Hercules. He looks like a whip-thin Apache Indian male with pale blue eyes, except he's much older than the Apache Indian tribe. The rest of us are mightier than mere mortal men and can live forever, but our powers would be more like that of a blessed warrior saint who could battle dragons and demons without fear. When we sit in council, we sit as a sacred circle, north, east, south, and west, including one in the center. There is a female who sits in the north. Her color is golden white, and she has a huge owl as her bird form. I sit in the east. My color is golden yellow, of all things, and my bird form is a huge eagle. He who sits in the south is colored blue, and has a huge hawk eagle as his bird form. He who sits in the west is colored red, and his bird form is a huge bald eagle. The one in the center, Zinkala, bears all of these colors, and his bird form is a huge harpy eagle. From this circle, we chant and effect many things by doing so. As bird people, we can do special things, and as vampires, we can do other things as well. We take an avid interest in the goings-on of the evil vampires and other evils that haunt the world. Of the evils we track, all use the Memphis area as a feeding ground, including vampires and werewolves. Why'd you think Memphis was so violent? But they normally get along so long as each's turf and territory are respected. Then there are the outsiders, like the voodoo people and the Satanists, who don't get along with anybody. There are a few sorcerers from the ancient societies and mystical fraternities that tend to mind their own business. You can find several other creatures of note in the Memphis area. There are the Wolfen, which is a small pack of 5 wolves who were once Native Americans who emulated wolves as they hunted. They did this so well that they became wolves themselves and gained the ability to transform themselves from human to wolf at will. They actively hunt evil of any kind in the Memphis area too. A mummy also got loose when the Ramses exhibit came through town because it thought it was home and that the time had come to start a new empire. There is a supernatural council called Parliament, which meets beneath the current downtown Memphis and Old Memphis, and an abandoned church buried beneath the new city all the tourists and residents know. In the underground, you'll find revenants, zombies, ghosts, and other odd creatures, plus some strange people who live down there. There's even a tunnel made entirely of yellow bricks, and no one knows who built the tunnel or how long ago it was built. They don't even know where it goes. This tunnel's been locked up by the city. I guess my education was taking longer than she thought, or else I'm just a slow learner, because what I thought was going to take only a few minutes ended up taking hours. I was hungry and wanted to take a shower and a good shit, and not necessarily in that order. So I held up my hand and said so. The big bird moved aside, and as I passed, I resisted the urge to pluck a feather or two, fearing for my own safety and welfare. I then walked into the bathroom and began to close the door, but the damned bird kept coming on right behind me. It entered the bathroom and just stood there, waiting. Okay, enough is enough, and I've had it with this damned big bird. Hell's bells. I didn't like Big Bird on Sesame Street, so why should I like this version of it? It was time to tell this owl a thing or two. All right, enough is enough. I'm going to take a shower, a shit, and a pee. Hell, I might even shave if I feel like it, but I'm going to do them alone. Now get out, and that means now, I shouted. I thought I made it very clear. We cannot be separated by as much as 10 feet, or both of us will die now, the big bird stated flatly. Then you can just sit outside of the door and wait, because you're not going to sit there and watch. Now get out! With that, I slammed the bathroom door in the face of the big bird and locked it. I felt a rush of confidence and satisfaction surge over me as I did this, a sense of accomplishment that just wouldn't stop. After my tithe to Porcelana, the goddess of the swirling waters, had been completed, I jumped into the shower and lathered up. While this was going on, I began singing the words to the Bridge Over the River Kwai. I can sometimes be sadistic, and I just wanted to rub it in some more, so I sang, Hitler's only got one ball, Goering's got 2, but they are small. Himmler's are rather similar, and Goebbels hasn't got one at all. I did this over and over for at least 30 minutes, maybe longer. I enjoyed it, I must admit. When it came time to finally get out of the shower, I carefully peeked out past the shower curtain. There in the middle of the bathroom floor calmly sat the big bird, not moving, except for the little rivulets of water cascading off its body and landing on the bathroom floor. Damn it, one of the things I cherish the most is my privacy, and I also do my best to give that same respect to others. The door was still shut, and I got angrier by the second. So I went over to the door, unlocked it, and ordered the damn owl out. Get the hell out now, and never do that again! Did you hear me? Out! But I almost died, she said pleadingly. But you didn't, I replied. And what's more, you'll get really good at almost dying each and every morning, and each and every time I need to go to the can, I shouted. This time, I merely raised my right hand and pointed towards the door, my silent demand being obvious. But, the big bird stammered. With that, she wobbled out of the door, leaving the cloud of steam that was still in the bathroom. I triumphantly slammed the door and turned on the fan to get rid of the steam cloud. I shaved and put on some aftershave, then walked out, still wrapped in a towel, feeling rather smug. I next moved into the master bedroom and collected the clothes I was going to wear that day. The great bird closely followed, although it did look a good bit ragged. I returned to the bathroom, closed the door, and began to dress as quickly as I could. As I turned off the fan, I heard something hit the floor outside in the hallway, so I opened the bathroom door quickly and stepped out into the hallway. There on the floor, in an awkward position, was Slump the great bird. Well, at least it had the decency to die quietly, I thought. But that doesn't seem to be the case now, does it? Hell no, I'm still alive, and that means it is too. I nudged it with my left foot and noticed a slight stirring coming from it, followed by a rapid flutter of wings. It stood up and shook itself into alertness. Look, Toots, I happen to be a person who really likes his personal privacy. And you're going to have to get some sort of divine intervention that will allow you to be further away from me, or else you're going to go through this scene each and every morning. I sometimes hop in the shower 3 to 4 times a day. Anyway, like I told you, you wouldn't die by being apart from me the distance you were, see? I calmly mocked as I crossed my arms across my chest and looked at the big bird. By the way, do you have any other form you can change into? It's going to seem rather odd to those who will now see me leaving my house being closely followed by a giant bird. Imagine for a moment the startled looks on those people who would be driving past my house and saw what I just described. Now imagine what the police dispatcher would think if someone were to actually call it into the police station. Imagine what it's going to look like to people who will see us pass them in my truck. There I'll be driving, and they'll see this huge bird perched on the right front passenger seat doing its very best to look ordinary. It just ain't going to work, I tried to point out. All she could say was, but further, imagine how I'm going to explain all the feathers, which are illegal to own, being in my house. This means I can't even throw them away because the garbage men will report me. Then I'll go to jail, and later on I'll go to prison, and I'm certain you wouldn't last very long in lockup, which is where they'd put me along with the other guys in one cell. Do you really think they're going to ignore the fact that you would be in the cell? Hell no, they wouldn't. They'd shoot you or put you in a cell by yourself until they consulted with the governor or someone else in authority. There, you see the problems you're causing now? And I really don't like being a mule for some neo version of a voodoo deity either, I pointed out. Of course, if you were to change into a gorgeous babe instead of a female version of Big Bird, it would be a whole lot better. But no, you can't do that, can you? Because that would be too simple. What do I get saddled with? A living version of Big Bird, that's what. And now, everywhere I go, the little kids will be yelling, "Oh, Mommy, there goes Big Bird." Or I'll have restaurant owners coming out saying something like this, "I'm sorry, sir, but we don't allow giant birds in our restaurant. You have to put it on a perch and leave it chained outside." Or, even more interesting, imagine how I'm going to feel walking into any of my local grocery stores and having the managers come up to me and say, "You're going to have to leave it outside because it's making the customers nervous." Are you finally getting my point? And of course, there will be those sport hunters who will be shooting at you since you'd be the keystone of stuffed animal heads they've shot and killed. Now imagine that. But you said you were willing to. I stopped her in mid-sentence and retorted with, "Sugar, anyone who was dying would have said and done the same things I did. I appreciate the fact that you saved my life, but I'm a living human being and I do need my space, even more of it than others. And since I've now tried that mule thing about hosting you inside of my body, I could tell you this, I really don't like that at all." She quietly stated that what I said was not quite right. "By now, the change should be complete. which means you are technically now dead and should officially be listed as undead. As such, you can no longer eat what you used to. So you might as well start getting used to drinking blood. Oh, great. Another bump in the road. Look, I hate to tell you this, but ever since I used to work in research, I've been allergic to other creatures' blood, and that includes other humans as well. It causes me to swell up like a balloon, and when that happens, I have trouble breathing. I fired back at her. I can't help that, but it's the truth. Now, who do we have to see to get this straightened out? I asked quietly in a more resigned voice. I guess we need to speak with Zenkala, the head of our group, was all she said. We drove for a good 45 minutes to an hour before we got to the Munford-Atoka area. This is the fiefdom, so to speak, of the Golden Ones. We eventually got to see Zenkala, who was, as usual, very busy tending to things. Sir, we have a problem, and we don't know how to fix this. The problem is this. She can't be even a few feet away from me, and this is driving me nuts. I'm the kind of person who likes to go to the bathroom for a dump and a good pee by myself. I really don't like being watched by a very large bird of prey while I'm sitting on the toilet. She can't even be just outside the bathroom in the hallway without nearly dying, and this is not good for either one of us, I stated in as plain a way as I thought was possible. Yes, she said. I don't see how this is going to work out, unless there is some sort of accommodation we can make. It was more of a plea because you could tell she was just as miserable about this problem as I was. All Zenkala said was, We'll see how to solve this problem, rest assured. Now, please get ready for tonight's ritual ceremony. Tonight, we were going to reinforce the barrier that has been keeping the Lashia, our wayward cousins, on the western side of the Mississippi. Each of us had to put on our body paint and dress attire. We'd be dancing before long, and after that we'd be taking pot shots at those evil things that go bump in the night once again. I was painted in yellow and sat in the east of the sacred circle. The others were painted according to where they would sit in that same circle. We danced into the middle hours of the night, and then we departed from the circle after the closing invocations were finished. From there, we quickly prepared to take flight and go after some evil things and bump back all night long. We knew we'd be making the entire area that much safer once we were through. And that was Night Journey by JT Davenport. Allegedly a true story. So do you see why I was at a loss of words for how to prepare you for what we were just about to experience together? Do you think it's a true story? I don't know what to say one way or another because I have no evidence for it, but I also have no evidence against it. And he seems to be a fairly unreliable witness of historical events, so I don't know. But if you've got an idea or some thoughts, why don't you drop those in the comments? I'd like to see what you think. But hopefully you were entertained, because I was certainly entertained. And if you enjoyed this story, I enjoy people liking and subscribing, so why don't you go ahead and take care of that. It's free, it's just a couple clicks, won't take you any time, no trouble at all. Well, I do thank you for your time and that you spent it with me. And as we, dear friends, part for now, I wish you nothing but the best. Yeah, that's a fucking bizarre story. And like the things that he got caught up on in the story, I'm like, why would you? This thing saved your life and you're mad that you can't poop without it. Like that's really your main concern. Not that you saved me from dying. Oh, that's amazing. But even when he was getting saved, he was like, I don't know. I don't know.